Hello and welcome everybody to another QPW special update from myself, David, and
I'm Bella. Hi everybody.
welcome back to our channel. Now we've been doing quite a few videos recently, covering quite a few topics, but what we've seen coming up is that a lot of people are responding to the energetic impulses that they're feeling, trying to decipher whether these are ascension symptoms, whether these are solar flare reactions, or maybe, or they are something else. Now, from our work over the last 3 years, with our previous incarnation of quantum plant healing, we have a whole tribe globally where we've been looking at many of the energetic interferences, particularly in the lower astral realm of our planets, otherwise known as the human emotional realm, where many of these more lower frequency things that don't serve us, we can say, entities, attachments, magics, low frequency interferences, are not only existing in the non-physical world, but actually affecting us here in the physical world, right, Bella?
Yeah, so we know the energy has accelerated. We feel it ourselves. We see what's going on with the people we know, our families, our friends, and the amount of emails and comments we know we are receiving. So we know that since the energy has intensified, and yes, there are more solar flares, not everything is down to the effects of ascension. There are other things that are bubbling up to the surface, creating chaos energy. And the chaos energy is going to be here for a few months. And that's why we've been called to do something, offer something between now for about 10 weeks, until about mid-November, 17th of November, which is when we see the intensity being much stronger and affecting us more.
Right, so off the back of some of the recent videos we've been doing, we've both been receiving a lot of requests for healings, clearings, activations, far more than we can possibly deal with ourselves. And so it's given rise to a series of meditations from our side over the last week or so about how we can continue to help all of you out there who've been messaging us, and actually in many cases asking for help with similar things. I feel things in my field, I'm not sure whether I've got something attached to me, feel parasitic energies, all of which is stuff that we've been covering pretty extensively with our tribe for the last couple of years, but may well be new to many of you who've just joined our channel recently or become members of our QPW website recently. So in order to address this, we've come up with something which we think is going to tick the boxes for everybody in different ways. Now, to go back and teach everything that we've taught our tribe members from the last 2 years is just simply not possible at this moment. The energy is too intense. We don't have enough time or energy ourselves to go back and do everything that we've already done once before. But what we can do is what we're going to share with you in a minute. And we think that this is going to benefit many of you, but it's also going to benefit the collective through the impulse that we will be putting into the shared space that all of us here on planet Earth are currently coexisting.
Okay, so our offering is based on group astral clearings and teachings on what is it that we're going to be removing from our fields using quantum technology, basically.
Right, now, just to preface this, we don't believe that we know the answers to everything, but over the last couple of years, particularly the last 4 years also, but in my case also stretching back over the last 10 years, there is a lot of experience with client case studies. Bella also has been doing a lot of activations with the mind stuff and of course the decoding for also about the same period of time. So between us we have a lot of experience from slightly different modalities, but actually that work really well together, as many of you of course have already benefited from over the last couple of years. So what we want to do is start looking at the symptoms that have been expressed by many and ascertaining, is this really an ascension symptom, whatever that might be? Is this really a reaction to a solar flare? Because there are definitely some things that are going on for us that we also think that are solar flares, but there are many other symptoms that in our experience can actually be ascribed to perhaps less helpful, less positive things than the help from our sun. So we're going to talk through the 10 different themes that we're going to be covering over the next 10 weeks, the format that we're going to be doing it in, and also how we're going to be in the process of doing all of that, be clearing online in a group situation or session, we can say, the things that we might normally cover in a one-to-one session. Now, doing it this way isn't necessarily going to cover everything that we would do in those sessions because they're very in-depth sometimes, but this is going to cover probably about 80 to 90% of the things that you're going to need to deal with on a daily basis. Because for me and Bella, this is our world. It's not one that we want to live in, but we're dealing with it because it's part of the energy of now. And actually, we have to cleanse ourselves energetically at least once a day, sometimes 2 or 3, right, Bella?
So this energetic clearance is part of what we have taught before, and it's part of the kind of clearance that we do in a personal level of one-to-one. But now that we're going to go into groups, we created a format which is going to run over a 10-week period, every Sunday at 10 a.m. CT time, Central Time, for about 45 minutes to an hour. You just connect with us and we do the clearing. You could do it with members of your family, you can do it with friends, whoever is interested. Each person will have their own energetic clearing.
Right, so the format is quite simple. We're going to be holding these sessions online using the Zoom format or a very similar software, and we might be looking at some other things in the coming days. But essentially this will be something that we host online. We're going to create a very, very strong energetic space, as we normally always do ourselves when working in ceremonial spaces or at the individual level. We're going to be calling in all of our very extensive allies, particularly from the plant, fungi and natural kingdom, but also working with many other off-planet higher frequency beings, particularly from the angelic realm, but also from other elemental energies, perhaps like the dragon realm as well. So there are going to be a lot of beings involved. Each session, as Bella said, will probably be, maybe about an hour. The first half an hour or so will be going through the same process every week. The clearing part of the session every week will be the same. It's the same processes that we use mostly on a daily basis, but we're going to be taking all of you through it step by step. And each week we're going to pick out one of the themes that we've just cleared, even though we'll be doing the clearings every week in the same way. After that, we'll be going through the process and talking about 10 key themes that we think cover pretty much everything.
Yes, so we will be starting this Sunday 15th, and that's why we're putting out the video now with the email, so that you have all the details and we can start all together this coming Sunday, September 15th.
Right, so in the show notes here underneath the YouTube video, please do check that. We often put a lot of information in the show notes and then get people asking us the questions that we put in the show notes. So please do have a look at that. It saves everyone a lot of time. There will be a link to the page where all of the information we're sharing is in a written form, so that you can really digest it again if you don't quite catch it on this video. And there, of course, there is also the option to book. Now, each session is bookable for just $53 per session, or we're also giving a group discount, you can say, for the 10 different weeks that we're doing. So please do check out those options and see which one suits you. You don't have to sign up to every single one, just to be clear. But if you do, then what you're going to do is also get 10 weeks of teachings about astral experiences, how to feel the frequencies of them in your field, how to understand how they're affecting you. And we're also going to be working with lots of different plants to help you cleanse daily in between. Now, we use these plants all the time ourselves in lots of different ways, smudging, limpias, tinctures, essences, and we're going to be covering all of those because they are the methodologies which we use ourselves just to keep ourselves fresh all the time. Unfortunately, everybody, it is a bit of a daily practice, but the more you get into it, actually the less time it takes. But it's also really about an astral educational awareness, because as we evolve into more conscious, multi-dimensional beings, there is a bit of a process that we're all going to have to go through, which is clearing the lower astrals of the earthly realm, but really at the individual level. And the more we all do that at the individual level, the more it's going to have an effect at the collective level, which is going to allow all of us here on planet Earth to shift. You can say ascend, depending on your vocabulary, but we really see this as an evolutionary process of becoming incarnated, conscious, multi-dimensional beings here on planet Earth, which is kind of exciting, but we do have a little bit of homework to do first.
Yeah, so we know that it's imperative to do it now. We're in the critical moments. We know that the energies have intensified, and it's a way of being able to navigate this period together with the Quantum Compass show that we release, where we talk about the astrology and navigating the wave spells. This is going to complement that, because it's going to give you the next level of clearing energetically and awareness. You're going to be aware of what is going on in the astral field, so that we can do all the shift and jump, which I think is going to happen between now and end of November mostly.
Right, and for those of you that have been following our channel for a while or been with us for a while, we put out this Quantum Compass show every 13 days to track the various energies of the Mayan time waves and the Mayan time technology, but also looking at the current, and we use that word deliberately, astrological setup. We actually have the strong intuition that's going to change quite soon as part of the shift.
Yeah.
But that's a conversation for another time. The Quantum Compass is really the navigational chart that we also use ourselves to see how the energy is going to flow. And what that shows us really, as Bella's just kind of hinted at, we've just entered the White World Bridger wave spell, which is a really, really important one. And that's going to be followed by the Blue Storm, which tends to suggest that things could get a little chaotic and messy. Not because we want it to, but it's just what we're seeing coming towards us. And actually, if you're really paying attention to what's going on, you'll probably understand that we have to go through some sort of purging, releasing, healing process. Now, many of us have already done this process for many years, but even more people, much more than people who've done it, are coming into this in a new way and experiencing things which we've had lots of time to digest and get used to, but in a very rapid and sometimes perhaps slightly startling or frightening way. And so Bella's now going to just take us through the 10 different points of the things that we're going to be clearing each and every week in those sessions, and in each week giving more details about how these things come to be and how you can tell whether you're being affected by them.
This period of about 2.5 months, we see it not only astrologically intensifying with the eclipses that are coming up and Pluto returning to Capricorn, but also the wave spell. So everything combined is showing us the level of intensity, plus the solar flares that have been coming and becoming increasingly high. So the first topic that we're going to cover in those clearings, group astral clearings, is going to be the emotional entities, first of all.
Yeah, these are really what I would have called the traditional things that we as cleaners and healers had to deal with a few years ago prior to 2020. They are still present, they are still affecting many people, but what we can say is that their energy is a lot less. But they are very important because they show us where we might have emotional wounding, and we'll be looking at that more in the details. But we're going to be looking at the traditional demonic energies, lower astral energies, and if they're still around, I haven't seen so many recently, what we would traditionally call earthbound spirits or ghosts or beings that haven't quite crossed the veil properly. So that's going to be what we're looking at this very Sunday, and also clearing along with all the other things we're about to list.
The second one, we're going to look into implants and markers and trackers and ET technology that still affect us.
Yeah, anything and everything that's basically extraterrestrial. We are having a little bit of a resurgence of that energy. It did disappear for a while, and we're going to be talking about why we think that is, and also probably that this isn't going to last much longer. Another reason we're doing this for just the 10 weeks is that we think this is probably the time period where this stuff is going to be coming up the strongest, and then we also really hope that we're going to be through this, because
we're already seeing it.
We're already seeing it, yeah. So yeah, week 2 is really about extraterrestrials and their effect
Not
on
only
us.
week 2, we're going to do these every single week. We clear all of those things. Number 3 will be the parasitic energies.
Yes, parasitic energies. I mean, really, in essence, a lot of what we're going to list here is parasitic energies, but there are particular types of parasitic energies, both physical, but actually in origin astral, and how to clear those. Those are some of the easier energies to deal with, but actually they're also very, very debilitating to our immune system if we don't deal with them, so they are really important.
And you learn to recognize what is it that you're feeling, if it's your headache, if it's weakness in your body, which of those things is it that are affecting you more, and so you know which plants to use or how to get rid of those as you go through the education of the 10 weeks. And the fourth one is the shedding and the jab related issues, which are very common, and we're all struggling with that because we keep on getting that everywhere. Do you want to talk about that?
The so-called offered medications. There is a big, we call it sliming, but shedding is another way of saying it. Some places are definitely experiencing it a little more heavily than others, but these are the kinds of things that when you spend too long in a densely populated area, particularly supermarkets or cinemas or hospitals, that's when you're really going to get kind of a heavy dumping effect on you, which really actually can affect you quite quickly. So this is really, really important. It's a tough topic, but it's something that we're all having to deal with, whether we took the medications or not.
Yeah, it's about energetic hygiene, astral clearing. And the fifth one was environmental toxins, which include heavy metals, chemtrails, the 5G effects, EMFs.
Maybe the effects of fracking in your area, radiation being released, all of these kinds of things that are around us at the environmental level or coming to us from the sky, or maybe maybe even in our water. Again, many of these topics are interrelated, but we're going to be giving further information on how we perceive they're affecting us and how they're coming into our system and what's the best way to get rid of them.
How to deal with them.
Yeah.
The sixth one is archons, big topic, graphene, morgellons, and anything else connected to that.
Yeah, so really in essence what we're talking here about is the energy of the black goo. It's a big topic and all of these things are all in that bracket. Again, maybe this is new for many of you, but some of us have been studying this for a number of years and we can see that there is a lot of this in our world that needs to be released. So a very important topic, Bella, yeah.
The seventh one is anything to do with psychic attacks, magic, hexes, curses, all of those things that still need clearing, and that's what we're going to try to do every week.
Yeah, again, these are what we would call the traditional dark arts. So this goes back centuries, millennia even. Some of these are very, very old. Again, this energy is somewhat leaving our realm, but it comes in either terrestrial forms or in extraterrestrial forms, and we're going to be clearing all of those and then talking about it in week 7.
The eighth one is anything to do with portals, the metaverse, and the tentacle beings. We'll mention them here yet.
Yeah, we're not going to talk too much about that now. It's a big topic, which is why it's going to be one of the last ones we look at. But for sure, we are seeing a lot of portals being opened, and we have a pretty good idea why, because we've been tracking it, and we're going to be looking at what's activating those, how they're affecting you, and how they can mess with your chakra system quite quickly. So yeah, these are all important topics, but this one particularly is quite big.
The next one is to do with bioweapons and things that have affected us, especially in the last 4 years. As you know, that's how they came with the jab and everything. But before then, there was a bioweapon, and it's not the first time they've done it. So we still find some of those in our fields and in other people's fields, so we can teach you how to clear those as well.
Yeah, and in fact, many of you have been expressing through emails certain symptoms that we are pretty sure are bioweapons, because we've also experienced some of them ourselves. And as Bella said, this is not a new phenomenon in our world. We can track back through history and see when these things happened before. So we're also educating ourselves on all of this. It's a very interesting topic, and the more that we make ourselves aware of these things, the less easy it is for those things to affect us.
And before I mention this last one, we also are going to look towards the end of the 10 weeks to what core wounds are those things getting attached to. It's very important to know that we are the ones that leave a door open to those things, and many of them are connected to our core wounds. So we'll do a quick review of core wounds and how we still allow those things to affect us, together with limiting beliefs. And the final one that you're going to do is the energy field rebalancing and boosting.
Right, so there are essentially 3 components in what we would traditionally do as clearings. The first one is to take readings on general symptoms and then start removing the things, the toxins that don't serve us. That in its own way normally reveals what is being manipulated, fed upon, which are our emotional traumas. And the only people that can actually heal those are us as individuals. But what this work can do is reveal to you the core origin of some of the things that are affecting you. Because quite often we can't see these things, but we can see what's manipulating them, which is kind of how we track to what those are. And then the final part of any kind of session is the energy field rebuilding, recalibrating, realigning. Super, super important. Again, we do this pretty much most days as part of our daily practice, but some of these phenomena we've talked about will really mess with your inner elemental, your horizontal plane of axis, and your chakra system, your vertical plane of axis. And if those start to get out, get manipulated, get wonky, then you don't have that connection to all that is above and all that is below, but also you're going to struggle to really deal with things to do with your water, air, fire, and earth elements in your life. And if those get out of balance, as I've seen with some clients recently, that can actually have a very, very devastating effect in conjunction with some of the other things, particularly shedding.
So some of those things we cover with the Rainbow Bridge immersion that we did. This is the next level of that. So many of the people that did the Rainbow Bridge already have some of those tools. We're adding some new ones and making it much easier to do a whole energetic clearing now. Yeah,
so Bella's talking about a journey that we did back last year on quantum plant healing. That's no longer available. We're not going to be doing a rerun of that. This is, as Bella said, a more condensed, more essential version. We're not going to be teaching the protocols that we did on the Rainbow Bridge journey. It's far too much content, far too longer time period. But what we will be doing is teaching through the 10 weeks different hints and tips and techniques.
Creating awareness.
Creating awareness. And just by default, you'll get to understand how these things can affect you, and working particularly with the spirits, particularly the plant spirits we're going to be working with, you can actually release them yourself. All of that will be covered in the 10 weeks. It's going to be quite a commitment, and as we said, you don't need to turn up to every session. You can book all of them in one go at a slightly reduced price, or you can book them as you feel you need them. And we won't be recording the clearings themselves because that's not really appropriate, but what we will be doing is recording the teaching part afterwards, and even if you can't make the call and have paid for it, you will be able to access the teaching part afterwards, so you don't need to worry about missing out.
And you will still get the clearing. All we ask you to do is to be able, if you can attend the video call, at least you'll be able to be somewhere where it's quiet and you can just receive, whether it's in nature or in your own bedroom or somewhere where you will be able to just take the teaching and the clearing.
Right, this is a really good point, because sometimes you book something and it's a live call and you can't make it. We will be taking a very precise roll call at the beginning of each of these sessions to ensure that even if somebody has booked and isn't on the call, then we will be calling that person into the space by name, which is a way that we will be able to transmit the energy. This is quantum healing, working with quantum intelligence, but into the astral, the lower astral, emotional realm of humans in order to clear that space and lift our energy. We're also going to be giving a few other hints and tips about how we can make our light bodies more receivable to the incredible energy that's coming onto the planet.
It's also a way of understanding more about our multidimensional selves, because people do not see necessarily what's happening in the astral. Some people do, the more psychic ones, they can see all of those things that we're talking about, but not everybody has the access to see those things. But you do get the symptoms in your 3D body, but they're in 4D, in the low 4D, most of them. So it's a way of even educating ourselves of what is out there, how are they affecting us, how does it feel in my body, what can I do to get rid of it and reboot my system. And this affects everybody, children, people of all ages, adults, everybody gets affected by those things. It's just that we don't identify them, and we just go to a doctor thinking it's something else sometimes.
Right, and also maybe just the last point to share here is, particularly in the first couple of weeks, we'll see how this flows, but we are only limiting these first few sessions to 100 places on a first come, first served basis. That's partly due to technological constraints, but also perhaps a little bit on the energetic level too.
80 or 100?
100 people, that's what we're able to do. So the first 100 people that sign up, particularly the first session, or if 100 people book up for the whole 10 parts, then we'll be set to go. So that's basically it, I think, Bella. I mean, there's a lot more that we could say, and we've tried to keep this short, and it's still 5 minutes longer than we meant, but hopefully that's caught your attention enough. And all of you who've messaged us and maybe haven't heard back, it's not because we're ignoring you. We've been trying to process a lot of information. We've also had our own lives to be leading, and we've been trying to find a way to tick all of these boxes. So we think this is the best solution. We've taken a lot of advice from our ascended masters and guides that we work with. We're not doing this lightly. We know we're putting ourselves out there, but we also perceive that this is something that's very much needed. And outside of our tribe, we don't know if that many people are able to do this kind of work. So it's part of our work in service, we can say. So hopefully that makes a lot of sense. If it's not clear for you, please do put questions in the comments. We will respond to all of those. Or if you want something a bit more detailed, please do email us. But for sure, we'd love to see you on Sunday. We're sorry it's a little bit short notice, but everything's become very, very quick, and we're having to act a lot in the moment. And still, you have a few days to sign up. And as Bella said, even if you sign up and don't make the live call on Sunday, we will be calling you into the space, and you will be receiving the effects of those healings. So at the cost of $53 for a week, you're going to be cleaned pretty regularly. So that's actually a pretty good exchange.
That's it from us.
Right.
We hope to see you in our group clearings.
Alrighty, everybody. So we'll see you all again very soon, and hopefully we'll get to see many of you this Sunday, and maybe for the next few Sundays over the next couple of months. Bye for now.
Bye.